Post lunch, we have another session. Good afternoon, all. Session 6. The topic is storyteller. And in this, the session chair is Rotarian Colonel Sudarshan Mishra of RCB Metro. Is he here? Yeah. And our guest speaker is Mr. Anil Dhir. A brief introduction. Sir, yes, sir, please, to the dais. Mr. Dhir has 3 master degrees and underwent flying training and got his private pilot license from Bhubaneswar Flying Club. He is a life member of INTAC, Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage, head of projects for its Odisha division. He has undertaken 3 important projects, which includes documenting the monuments of the old Jagannath Sadak, the monuments of the Prachi Valley, and the documentation of the Mahanadi Valley. He has also done extensive research on Indian National Army, author of 10 books, and writes columns for many newspapers and magazines. With this, I welcome Shri Anil Dhir, and the session chair of this is Colonel Sudarshan Mishra. Sir, with your remarks.
After he speaks, no?
Yes, after he speaks.
Jai Jagannath. Good afternoon. The session, they said, was storyteller. I have often had this talk, the one which I am going to deliver now, but never under the acronym of a storyteller. But I think it's a very right term. It seems more like a story. Like I was introduced, I am a life member of INTAC. I do a lot of heritage projects. And when my friend Sanjay told me, I thought it will be very appropriate to tell you the story about the Jagannath Sadak. All of you are here in Puri, and we know the importance of the place. What a great pilgrimage center it is, it has been in history. Basically, what I'm going to tell you the story of a road. And the story of the road, it will show you the importance of the road in the creation of the state, in the spread of Jagannath cult all over the country. It's a little known chapter in history. I'll just go back in time. Why? It was a project which I had taken up for INTAC. When I used to travel, I know a lot of you must have driven down if you have come from North Odisha. Some of you must have come by air or by train, to Puri from maybe outside the state also. But basically, Puri has been a pilgrimage center since the 12th century, developed in 13th century, but ever since the Britishers took over in the 18th century, the pilgrim road developed. But nevertheless, anybody in the spiritual world of India, all the big men, from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Nanak to, Kabir, all the great people who were there, Namdev, all of them sometime or the other came to Puri. Many travel accounts, not only travel accounts of the Indian saints, but there were French travel accounts, there were Dutch travel accounts, there were Persian travel accounts, travel accounts by foreigners. So it always kept me wondering, when I used to travel this road, and some of them, most of them, at least a few of the senior people must have experienced it. Even if you go by that road today, you will see people come and worship the road. There are so many instances when I see, when they come on the highway, Mundiya Marive Rastaku. There are places where they light lamps on the road. They even break coconuts, especially during the Rath Yatra. So when I used to ask them, why do you do it? They used to say that this is the Jagannath Sadak. If we can't go to Puri, we worship the road that goes to Puri. So basically, this was a curiosity. When I used to always see it, I wanted to know what was the road, what was its history, and what was its importance. We knew that travelers came to Puri, but how did they come? It was in one corner of India. It was a cul-de-sac, a dead end. If you came, you only came by the road route. It was not a very safe harbor, the Puri, this thing. And the ships, mainly, a lot of shipwrecks here, they should only bypass it. But even in the 13th, 14th century, the mariners used to log at, there were two, the black pagoda and the white pagoda. Puri was the white, they could see it from the sea. So in those old sea maps also, these were two points, There were two reference points, the black pagoda and the white pagoda. And there was a false point which is there in Hokitola. People used to assume it, so it was called the false point. So basically, when I am a student of history, like I said, so I was interested, I tried to delve, but I hardly found anything. There was a road which the pilgrims used to take, but it was in the footnotes of history. Nothing much was written about it except a few travel accounts. I went by the route, I went to the villages where perceptibly the road must have been, Everybody used to talk about the road, especially the old timers. People in the 80s and 90s, they had seen. But there was not much written. And the old road had a rich oral history. A lot of fables, lot of bhajans, dhagos, all this was of the road. But basically the history of the road was not known. I am a student, so basically I was very curious. But I knew that there is rich history. Wherever I went, any village I went on the route, they had some story or the other, and the old timers had remembrances of the old road. I tried to get maps. I got them from the British Library. I got military maps from the Fort William, from the Asiatic Society. I could see even as far as 1790, the map had the road which was called the Jagannath Sadak. Even the Britishers called it Jagannath Sadak. Later on, it was called the Odisha Trunk Road after the Navanka Durbiksha after the 1966. But prior to that, even all the maps, it was written as the Jagannath Sadak. One thing led to the other, When I couldn't get much, only, there were small references in history books, maybe as a footnote or a small chapter. So I decided one fine day that I'll discover the road. I knew that much, that how did the people come? They mainly came by foot. They came in bullock carts. The rich came in palanquins. The Rajas, they came in elephants, and, they had horses. They came in, There were travel accounts which you all mentioned. So one fine day, I took a bullock cart and two pairs of bullocks and went to Calcutta. And I walked back along the road from Calcutta to Puri, perceptibly by oral knowledge, asking people where the road was. We went from village to village. It didn't take me long, just 24 days we reached, But what I found, I've written a 3-volume book which will be released by the Orissa State Archives. It's a very multi-volumes book, So I wrote the history of the old road. We were around 25 of us. I was not alone. We took that bullock cart. We tried to make it as period as possible. We got the old bullock cart, that chhapra, and we put the gods in it. And we walked. We didn't sit in the cart. The cart, only the lords were there. And we tried this experiment from Calcutta. We asked people, rasta jautila, amo badi pate jautila, eti kuo thila, eti ghato thila. There were remnants of the road. So what basically we found was, it was an important road, very important from the middle 17th century. It was the road that was used by the pilgrims, but it was also the road which was used by everybody to conquer Orissa. The Afghans, the Mughals, the Marathas, the East India Company, later on the Britishers. This road was used even to subjugate the whole state, subjugate even Puri in 1803. Even Puri was under British rule. It was a trade route also. We had a thriving trade in salt, in grains, which used to go all the way. We had a port in the mouth of the Subarnarekha. So this road, it was, there was a history, rich history. So what I did was, we traveled on the road, 25 of us. We would stop in the villages on the way, take down the oral history, record it. We got around 80 hours of video footage, took around 40,000-50,000 photographs, interviewed many old people, and we discovered how important the road was. We documented around 800 monuments which were still extant. For every monument we found that 5 had disappeared, which were lost in the vagaries of time. It was a very difficult road, let me tell you. It was a coastal road. There were 7 big rivers, and these, in those days we didn't have dams and embankments. Practically 4 or 5 months, these rivers were so much in flood that you couldn't even cross them. You start right from the Rupnarayan, the Subarnarekha, you come down, all the other rivers which were there, the Buddha Balango, the Nunia Jodi, the Salandi, Brahmini, Baitarani, the Mahanadi. So there were times when the pilgrims used to be stranded for even 2 months, 3 months, unable to cross the river. Because it was a coastal road, the monsoons used to play havoc. You needed constant repairs. There were jungles on the way. So basically, everybody has said whoever was worth the salt, they had come here. The history of the road was, it was till the 1890s, the only way to come to Puri. The railways came in 1895. And practically, the route from Calcutta to Puri, if you see the road, the rail route from Calcutta to Puri, it's a very circuitous route. The Britishers were very careful about the road. Whenever they used to make a railway line, it should be very straight, they should do proper survey. But this route was never surveyed. They laid the railway line by the side of the Jagannath Sadak for 2 reasons. One was they didn't have time to survey. They had started the line the railway started from Calcutta and from Madras both way. It so happened that the Madras line, they practically made very advancement there and they reached up till Vizag. But the British the Calcutta portion had not even started. They had discovered more lines to Raniganj and they wanted a line to Darjeeling. So they didn't pay emphasis. So when it was too late, they didn't do a survey. They just laid the road by the side of the Jagannath Sadak. For logistical reason also, the jungles and all. So when the railways came, the travel time was shortened to around 22 hours. That's all it took to come from Calcutta to Puri. Prior to that, it used to be nearly 25 days or a month. So very soon, the road vanished gradually over the days. The original road was 512 kilometers. Today, only 120 kilometers of the old road still remains. The rest is lost. In many of the places, the railways has encroached it, or somewhere we made the highway, and quite a few places it has been encroached by the villagers, and it has been lost. So our trip down time was, when we did it, we wanted to document the importance of the old road and what it must have been. Those time travelers, imagine in 1506, when Guru Nanak had come here, the road was still there. How these travelers came from North India, or they came from up, even the people used to come from South India, used to not come via this road. They used to travel all the roundabout way, go to Calcutta and then walk back, because these were thick jungles and they were very inhospitable territory. Our jungles and all, they were not known it. Incidentally, I'll tell you, there was not one Jagannath Sadak. There are 8 Jagannath Sadaks. Any road which came to Puri was called the Jagannath Sadak. Even the road from Sambalpur, which comes, that bank of the left bank of the Mahanadi, even the right bank which comes via Gonia, that also was Jagannath Sadaks. There was one which comes the other way from Berhampur. So there were practically 8 Jagannath Sadaks, but this was one Sadak which was documented. So when the railways happened, this road practically vanished. In 10-20 years, people forget about the road. But if you still travel that route, there is so much to see. Even now, the remnants. There are most of the buildings which are not lost. They have been converted into circuit houses or the tehsil offices or the post offices. There were colonial buildings, and but most of them have been lost because we didn't take proper care of it, or they were encroached. There's a short film which I made, on the road. I didn't make it. In fact, if you know Mr. Ananta Mahapatra, he's a very old Rotarian also, in fact. So when he saw it, he decided to make that short film. It's a 20-25 minute film. We'll see it if we have time. So I'll tell you my experiences what did we document in the road? We talk of Jagannath being a secular god. Jagat ka Nath, we call him, And that is something which we really find. When the report was published, we had around 700 entries of monuments which we did. And people were surprised because in the 700 entries, we had around 20 mosques. There were 4 gurdwaras and 17 churches, which were all part of the Jagannath Sadak. And we didn't just do it because they were there. They were linked with the Jagannath Sadak in some way or the other. Today we talk of exclusiveness and we talk on non-secular lines, but it is so surprising to see. We found wells, we found tanks, where there were Persian plaques in which it was written, this and this Subedar had made this well for the Jatris of the Jagannath Sadak. There were churches, right from Jaleshwar till here, where I will admit they tried the level best to do the missionary activity, which they didn't succeed. But nevertheless, they used to render service to the sick, the injured, the old people. You will be surprised, there were Muslim shrines, where out of sheer respect, where these people used to shelter in the night, out of sheer respect for them, no non-veg food was allowed, either in that dargah. The road is gone, but the tradition still continues. Even in Pipili there is a shrine, Baba Mast Mastan Dargah, they call it Dal Bhat Wala Baba. Till today, in that Muslim shrine also, they don't allow anything non-vegetarian. Nobody stays there now. No. Pipili? It is called Baba Mast Mastan Ka Dargah. It's right in opposite the Pipili Thana. Just there's a small road. You ask anybody, it's an old dargah. Okay. These are small instances, I say. And, what drew people here? That was a big thing. Why did people come from? Why did they come? The Nanak Panthis used to come all the way from Lahore. 2,200 miles. They used to walk. It used to take them 2 months. They used to come here, stay during the Rath Yatra, do their seva, and then go back. In recent days, you have all heard about the destruction of mutts in Puri. We fought very hard. We couldn't. They broke the Amar mutt, they broke the Mangu mutt, they broke the Punjabi mutt, they broke the Boda Khada mutt. All the mutts were broken. What were these mutts? There were at a given time 400 mutts in Puri. Why were these 400 mutts there in Puri? We tried to delve into it. We have our Govardhan Peeth, where the Shankaracharya stays, one of the oldest mutts with a recorded history of, goes back to 1200 years. You have a succession list of all the Shankaracharyas. These mutts practically, whoever came to Puri, I'll give you Nanak's example, when Guru Nanak came. Anybody who came, first of all, it was a very arduous journey, You always wonder, you don't know the language, you don't know the food, you don't know the geography. You still come from North India, walking. Why did they come? There were two things. Most of the saints who came from North India, coming to Puri, was a double effect. In fact, during its time, in the 1500s or 1600s, this was practically one of the biggest temples of the country. There was such a big structure, a cavernous structure. Today we go, it used to be dark. Those three gods just under the lamp lights, You can't even understand them. They're just, blocks of wood. There was a lot of, like when Guru Nanak came, Guru Nanak was, a Nirakar. He was of the Bhakti tradition. He didn't believe, but even Guru Nanak came and questioned, He said, na Akar, na Nirakar. He said, Kimkar. What is this? I don't understand. Even now, I work for a few organizations where we bring the, PGTs, Adivasis from the primitive group of tribes to Puri. When they enter the temple, we take them. We don't see at the God, we look at them. We don't realize it because it is commonplace for us. But when they come to a temple, suddenly, and they experience God, you should see how much in awe they are. And today, it's a very changed this thing. There is lightning, there is arrangement. But remember in those days when they used to come. And the second was, most of these people got the first view of the sea. Guru Nanak, the first time he saw the sea was when he came to Puri. And as a small child, when we first saw the sea, you can remember, you won't forget it. Anybody who hasn't seen it, it's an unforgettable experience to see, and especially the bay here, in a place like Puri where it stretches to the horizon. So all those who came, from South India, from North India, they were so impressed with the temple. First of all, they kept coming back. And because they kept coming back, each one of them set up a mutt here. These 400 mutts were like embassies. They were like consulates. Like in Delhi, if you go, you have got embassies of 100 countries. These mutts were embassies. And fortunately, they got royal patronage. The king used to patronize them. And it was a give and take relation. You will be surprised. The Sikhs came and established 3 mutts here, the Mangu mutt, the Bauli mutt, and the Punjabi mutt. The Bauli mutt has the only step well. The step well, Rajasthan mein jo hota hai, you go down, Bauli they call it. There is a well and there are steps which lead to the water. It's still there. It is still there, you can go and see it. Sweet water. As a straight line, it is only about 110 meters from the sea, but there is no brackish water. Every other well in that area has brackish water, but that water is sweet, and that is still there. The Mangu Mutt was the place where Guru Nanak composed the Sikh Arti. About the Amar Mutt, about the Naga Mutt, all these mutts had relevance, It was a give and take relationship. All of them were given some role to play in the affairs of the temple. This is not the topic, but we have been fighting so much as on behalf of INTAC, but in front of us, all the mutts, out of 400, only 120 remained. Half of them, were taken over. But of those 120 also, all the important mutts have been destroyed and razed to the ground, including the Amar Mutt, which was a 600-year-old mutt. This is something which is not done anywhere in the world. But the government has its own plans. Beautification, they want to convert Puri from a pilgrim city to a tourist city. They have their plans, they are doing it. We will come back to the Jagannath Sadak. Our experiences when we came, the relevance of Jagannath, the speaker before me, he was talking of the Bengali influence, We saw what Jagannath means. Like, I haven't gone further ahead, what it means, Why? In Bengal, we found that there were 3 routes. Basically the route was, it used to come from Calcutta, it used to come to Medinapur, then Dantun, Jaleshwar, Baleswar, Basta, then used to go to Nilgiri, that was the old road, take a cut, go to Jajpur, Bhadrak, and Kendrapada. That was the road which was taken. We mapped it. We had a GIS expert with us, we had a geography students with us. We should take GPS readings every 50 meters. They practically remapped the whole road. The in West Bengal, we found there were 3 routes. One route was taken by Nanak, one was taken by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the other route was a traditional route. We did all the 3. It took us 2 months. So basically, what we gave a proposal to the government, both of West Bengal and Orissa, that restart the pilgrim trail. You can do it. There is so much heritage there. All of you drive down from Bhubaneswar to Puri. If you come with me, it will take you a whole day. Every 300 meters, there are remnants of the mutt. When you drive back today, just before you take the bypass to Pipili, just before you take it, on the right, there is something you ask anybody, he will tell you it is Mongoli Ghosh tank, Mongoli Ghosh Pokhuri. Every little thing, I will just tell you this history. Mongoli Ghosh's forefathers had come along with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The king had given them that land. That small village is full of originally Bengali people, So he had set up that tank. The tank is half finished. It is never completed, Basically, this tank was for the use of the, pilgrims who used to come. So, when Mongoli Ghosh wanted to make the tank, he died. His son took up the thing of completing it, he also died. So they said, don't complete it, leave it half complete. Even with half complete, it is such a grand tank, If you go, there are 2 sections, It's a traditional temple tank, and all of them have natural flows. That jhoro comes and the used water goes off to the fields for using, There were so many. We found wells, we found ghats, we found, ruins of, there are nomenclatures. A small name, if you come, there are about 9 villages which are named Chudaghasa, Chudakhai, or Chudakhia. You know what this is? The pilgrims used to stop there and eat the chuda which they used to bring. They used to, either crush it or something or the other. So the names happened. Very interesting history. Something which should be revived. Lesser known part, we worship temples. We don't worship a road. But nevertheless, in short, I will say, if the Jagannath Sadak wouldn't have been there, Jagannath cult wouldn't have gone out of Orissa. Orissa as a state would not have evolved as it is today with a distinct identity. The road is very long. It's a very long story. I will wish that it's a small film. If we have time, 10 to 12, 15-minute film. If you see it, that's good because it shows all the visuals. Okay. Or it's available on YouTube. It's called the Jagannath Sadak. You can see it. But in short, what I want to basically say is we travel, we go over, we go everywhere. These are things which we don't need to notice. So next time anybody is traveling down from Calcutta by road, we are tying up with the Ministry of Petroleum And we have a scheme that every petrol pump, which is near a monument of the Jagannath Sadak, will have a plaque which will describe that 2 kilometers from here or 3 kilometers from here is one remnant of the old road and its practical history. The minister is very keen to do it, so we'll be going ahead and doing it. I know Rotary is involved in many projects. I see your charter and everything, but there is one project or something which we are lacking, especially in this country, is our awareness for heritage. We are really not even neglecting it, we are doing criminal neglect, what is happening all around. So with this sort of a network, I am sure, if you incorporate, because if you are not proud of your heritage, you are not aware of what we have and its relevance, I am sure, in coming days, because the government agencies, they just do so much and no more, be it the ASI or the State Archaeology Department. I am sure with the sort of reach you have, I will not say you get directly involved, but creating awareness. I know Rotary does very much about that. I know if there's somebody who really can influence. So if these projects are also taking off in their own relevant, every place in Orissa, I think every place we document has neglected heritage, neglected monuments, which are crying out for attention. So I am sure, this is also a message which I want to get across. If this can be included, I am sure if your chapters can do it, you even do it in some cases, I have seen it. If that can, even the young people who are there, if they can get involved, it will be very nice. I don't know if we have time for the film. You can just see it. I'll thank all of you for giving me such a patient hearing for an offbeat topic, which is not there. Thank you once again.